Hi, Fit Moms. Kelsey, your host, and I hope to empower you today that no matter where you're at in your journey, whether you have a newborn for the first time or if your third baby is 20, wherever you're at, I want to help you to feel excited about and empowered to lose the weight, but even more than that, adopt a healthy lifestyle that's going to make you proud, and it's also going to make your Heavenly Father proud. So if you see the title of this podcast, we're talking about losing the baby weight, but this 4-phase approach, it's going to work for you no matter where you're at in your postpartum journey, or if you're an aunt or a dog or cat mom or whatever life is like. I think you're going to feel encouraged to continue on this journey wherever you're at in this 4-phase approach. Let's get started. Hey, welcome to the Kingdom Fit Moms podcast, where we believe that you can go on a journey to lose weight for the last time. I know you've tried all the things and you may not believe me yet, but when you do weight loss the Kingdom Fit Moms way, everything changes. You're in the right place if weight is constantly on your mind, you're confused about food, you're missing out on memories, and maybe even putting your dreams off for another day because this weight struggle is no joke. We're a community and we're on a mission to invite God into this weight loss journey so you can shed the burden and shine your light. I want you to start living and believing in the version of yourself that heaven sees. Let's get started. All right, let's jump right in today. I want to teach you the 4-phase approach that I'm using to lose baby weight for the 4th time. So if we're just meeting, my name's Kelsey Wickenhauser. I am a physician assistant turned Christian health coach, and I run a program that lights up my soul called Fit Moms Academy. And within that program are a lot of these concepts, but I thought it would be helpful for me to kind of break down how I see postpartum weight loss. And again, I can speak through experience 3 times now, and I'm in it for the 4th time. My little guy, he is 4 months old, which is just one of my favorite phases, like the 3 to 6 month, where they are so adorable and they smile at you and they have personality beginning to show and they can't move. It's great. Life is still a little bit easy before they start to go everywhere, minus the sleep thing. I do want to also say that I would love for you to stay tuned to the Kingdom Fit Moms podcast. In the next couple weeks, I am working on releasing an episode about Bo's testimony. So that's my son. And if you hadn't heard, he was born with a heart defect. And I want to create a podcast honoring him, but even more so honoring the Lord in so many different miracles that we experienced through that whole thing, which was really, really hard and also beautiful. And I was just telling my friend the other day, looking back on that situation, how I almost miss pieces of it. And it seems crazy to say that, like being in the hospital for a couple weeks nonstop with a newborn and seeing him in his chest, all cut open. Anyway, I'll save the details for later. But it was just such a sweet experience with the Lord to fully rely on him. So anyway, I'll get back to weight loss today, but stay tuned for that testimony coming. I hope that also blesses you. So when I think of postpartum weight loss, I see it in 4 different phases. Now, if you have a kid who is 10 or 20 or grown with grandkids, it doesn't matter. You can still use this process to help you determine where you're at and how you need to progress in order to continue to see results. And at the end of this podcast, I'm also going to share some of the challenges that I see and where people get stuck. So if you can imagine, when you have a baby, you are coming out of that situation a little bit fragile, right? Most of us take a little bit of time to recover. And so this is kind of how I see going from a fragile state of maybe not being in your best shape. Maybe you totally rocked your prenatal period and you can kind of skip through some of these phases more quickly. But that's kind of what I'm going to speak to also, is that you don't necessarily know, there's no rhyme or reason for how fast you have to move through these phases, okay? So I want you to kind of imagine, as I speak through them, which phase you are in. And maybe if you need to admit, I've been in this phase too long, I need to progress, etc. Okay. So let me go over those phases and then we'll talk through maybe some of the pitfalls and some of the things to consider. Phase 1. So you just had a baby. And what do you need to be thinking about? So after, okay, I also, maybe I shouldn't say just had a baby, because initially you should snuggle that baby. You should just enjoy it as much as you can. It's hard and beautiful at the same time. And of course, if you have other kids, that can add a whole different dynamic. So phase 1, you are healed up. Your pelvic floor is hopefully healed to some degree, and you're ready to at least start this mindset of I'm ready to lose weight, and maybe not even lose weight at this point, but just get back to feeling fit and get back to feeling like myself. So in phase 1, this is what I do. So for me, again, it depended on which pregnancy, but this last delivery was my easiest. Again, he's my 4th, and I was back to doing these things pretty quickly. So here's what's included in phase 1. Lots of real food. Okay, if you've listened to Kingdom Fit Moms, you know that we're not really about counting things and obsessing over all these man-made diets, but it can actually be a lot simpler. So instead of thinking of cutting things out, it's how can I eat as many real foods as possible? And, if you're nursing, there's extra motivation there because you want to give your baby all the good things, all the good nutrition, getting healthy fats in your diet, getting plenty of protein, lots of fruits, veggies, boosting that immune system for your baby. So it's a beautiful thing. But I do want to point out that maybe you did this really well for your body when you were feeding a baby, and then maybe you stopped because you were no longer nursing, or you lost some motivation because somebody wasn't relying on you. But I just want to encourage you to switch that thinking, because people are relying on you still in different ways. And when you are fueling your body well, and you aren't having to miss out because you're sick or not feeling well or too tired or have a headache or whatever, that's important too. So don't stop eating real food just because you aren't nursing. Okay, so back to phase 1. So lots of real food, focusing on walking. So this is where I'm just simply trying to increase my steps. And I am not trying to do this, I'm not going from nothing to walking 3 miles right away, especially because you have to consider what your pelvic floor went through, right? And then I am also doing baby wearing. Now, it's a beautiful thing with baby wearing is that your baby grows with you, and your core, it's a great core workout to baby wear, and your baby's going to slowly start to get heavier, so you can slowly start to carry more and more weight. Okay. Now, if you don't have a newborn and you're listening to this podcast, I still want to make it relatable to you. So you could start in this phase by slowly adding some weight to your walks. So if you're in phase 1 and maybe you have not taken care of your body for a long time, or, in my case, when I was pregnant, I was on bed rest at 34 weeks. So I had that month or so before I had a baby where I literally was supposed to not be doing anything as much as possible, right? And so I had to ease back in. So if you're at this place where you know that you're pretty weak or you need a slow start to getting back in shape, maybe you've had some injuries, maybe this is all new to you, hopefully this releases you that all I want you to think about in phase 1 is lots of real food, walking, and baby wearing, quote unquote. So starting to add a little bit of weight to your body, maybe through a ruck or a weighted vest, slowly but surely. Okay. And inside of Fit Moms Academy, we go through all the different questions that you have about real food, what to eat, how much to put on your plate, understanding it, understanding what it's not, and how the food industry has become so messed up. Like all those questions are answered, but very simply put, real food, walking, baby wearing. Okay, so phase 2. You've been consistent in those things we just mentioned in phase 1. So the next most important piece, I think, is adding in some core work. The core it's so important to have a strong core because it's going to prevent you from becoming injured. Now, what I have done is I did some postpartum workouts through Studio Bloom. You can look them up. And I also did a lot of their prenatal workouts as well. I really liked it. It's a subscription that's really affordable. And so I've moved on from that. And now I've been doing Lindy Well Pilates, thanks to shout out to Jess from Fit Moms, who's also been doing that. And it's wonderful. It's short to the point, and I am feeling muscles that I forgot I had. And it's helping to just rebuild what has been stretched out and challenged being pregnant. Now, you may, again, be several years out from having a baby, but if you never did this core work, if you never took the time to rebuild the transverse muscles around your core, kind of those core set muscles, maybe you notice that you have a pooch, maybe you have some separation in your abdominal wall, then I think that this is the next best thing to add. My husband and I, we've been having a lot of discussion on exercises, movement. And so if you don't know, my husband's a physical therapist and he runs his own business and he's really, really good at what he does. He's one of those guys who can take a patient who has maybe been tossed around by a variety of physical therapists, who's been in the system of medicine and hasn't had the best care. And he can sit down and really assess, okay, what is actually going on that's causing this pain syndrome and help people work their way out of it. He's really good at it. And so we've been talking about exercise as medicine and, his opinions, and he loves Pilates. He was telling me that there's a gal in his physical therapy class who actually went to school to get her doctorate so that she could have clout to open her own Pilates studio because she believed in it so much, because she saw these effects of people being healed from having consistent back pain, etc. And so it kind of comes down to the benefits of Pilates is the core work and how it gets your pelvis into an appropriate position through this breathing and core work. And yeah, there's other things too, but I love Pilates. So if you're like, what should I add to do this core work? I highly recommend that. You can look up Lindy Well Pilates. I can put a link in the show notes as well. So I do want to point out, so when you start adding in things like the core work, you do not want to eliminate the other things you have been doing. So you want to continue with the walking, right? And increasing steps. And so, we talk a lot in Fit Moms Academy about adding these different pieces of the puzzle in slowly and helping you to get to a point where you are getting enough movement throughout the day. It's not just about this little Pilates workout and thinking that's going to solve the weight problems. Like, no, it's not. We have to add things in little by little, and you need a system that's going to help you do it so that it will stick, okay? So phase 2 is adding in core work, continuing walking, continuing with real food, and maybe a little bit of light resistance with your core work. And so that's what I'm also getting through these videos that I did through Studio Bloom and Lindy Well Pilates. I have been doing a little bit of lifting in phase 2. I have a Beachbody subscription, so I was doing some of their lighter weightlifting things. I'm basically focusing in this phase on how do I help myself get more fit again so that when I really want to hone in on phases 3 and 4, I'm able to do that. All right, so phase 3, we are still doing the things that we're doing in phase 1 and 2. And then we're adding in more weight intensive workouts. more resistance training. Muscle is one of the, it's part of the foundation of youth. If you see somebody who looks younger than they are, they probably have a good amount of muscle. You're not going to bulk up. You're actually going to look fabulous and toned because you have a lot of muscle and definition. So start building muscle, okay? You're still walking, you're still eating lots of real food. And once you've done those consistently and you've helped to heal your core, don't skip that step, then move into more intense workouts. Continue the real food. And then in phase 3, I'm starting to, because I'm lifting more, I am focusing on more protein with each meal and being a little bit more intentional about that. So making sure that my breakfasts are set up nicely. This helps keep from binging later in the day. And again, we have specific goals that we would want you to aim for, and a lot of different ideas within Fit Moms Academy for how to set that up so that it's really, really easy. Because it can feel like, oh man, I've worked with these coaches before. They told me I have to hit 30 grams of protein here and 15 grams at meals, and it felt heavy, and I had to make sure I didn't have too many carbs or too many fats, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, I don't want you to have to worry about that for your whole life unless you get to like phase 4 plus and you want to do that, but you don't need to do that. And so we're going to instead teach you how to make basically having an idea of how much protein you need without it feeling daunting and without obsessing over it, because we are kind of in a protein obsessed diet culture. Okay. Protein is good, but you don't need to obsess over it. And there are other things that are important too. All right, so phase 3, again, more intense workouts, continuing real food, adding in some protein. And then phase 4. So I'm still continuing Pilates, but I'm adding in some more intense workouts. And then for the real food, I'm bumping up the protein. And then I'm starting to really fine tune the things that make a difference with fat loss. It's focusing on all the little details, the timing of food, the types of food, etc. And so those are the type of what we call scale steps inside of Fit Moms Academy that help the weight to come off faster. But notice that I did not start with these things. I started with the basics, real food, walking, core work, adding in more workouts. And then you have to be in a space, a mental space where you're ready to be more disciplined in phase 3 and especially phase 4. And so I think for the postpartum mamas, this can take a while. I feel you, because most of the time because we aren't sleeping enough. And so it's hard to have our neurologic system balanced and ready to take on more and get excited to, be motivated to be disciplined and lose weight when we are sleep deprived. Okay. Now, when you have completed these phases, there is a time sometimes where you're like, I really want to shred out. And then, and only then, you might consider being like, okay, I want to hone in on specific macronutrients, or I want to experiment more with timing of food, or I want to really up my workouts, or I want to join this new workout program in gym, etc. So I hope that seeing this in kind of 4 phases can help release you from trying to jump in to phase 4. Do not do that. It will not stick, and you might get injured. Now, I do want to address a few things that you have to have for all 4 phases of losing the baby weight. And that is, number 1, a mindset of an honest, true identity, knowing that you're worth it. And this comes from a lot of inner work for some of our fit moms. Some of us have this because we've been taught it all our lives, and some of us haven't. And so sometimes it takes some work to dig up anything that's keeping us stuck from not believing that we're worth it. Another must-have for all the phases is a love for real food. And sometimes this does take a while to develop. So maybe you're thinking like, okay, I need to jump into real food in phase 1, but I don't really like vegetables and I don't really like cooking. And so this is where it's so helpful to be in community and to learn these things. Anybody can jump into walking, assuming you don't have any injuries. And we can all eat real food, but sometimes that part is a little bit harder. So I just want to acknowledge that, but also encourage you that you can develop a love for real food. I've seen it time and time again. And you can also get your kids and your family to develop a love for real food, the food that God created, it's the way that we're designed to live. And it's so beautiful, and I love talking about restoring the glory of God in real food. So be encouraged that you can develop that. Another must-have for all these phases is some food prep, meal prep, or hiring somebody to help you do that. No shame in that. But it's necessary to have food ready to eat, and that requires some time and energy. So just know that that's part of it too. And we can teach you that. We can teach you our system for how to do it in a way that is not daunting, and you can spend just a few minutes kind of gathering things each day to get food on the table. Another key piece that you have to have for all phases is consistency, because if you're walking twice a week and eating real food 70% of the time, you're not going to see the scale drop. Sorry to tell you. Well, maybe if you're breastfeeding, and I shouldn't say you're not going to, but it's going to be a lot harder unless you're consistent doing these things pretty much every day. I think it's also important to have community and to make it fun, because if you hate the process, you will not keep doing it. So maybe you start listening to your Bible recap on your walk, or maybe your favorite, sermon series, or maybe you catch up with your friends on Voxer, or whatever those things are. Make it fun and make cooking fun, and be around people who are going to elevate you to higher levels of thinking and doing. And so that's what we aspire to have inside of Fit Moms Academy. And then the last thing that you have to have for all the different phases of weight loss is a deeper why. Are you setting yourself up to be present and to play, or to crawl on the floor, or to feel amazing in your body again and feel sexy around your spouse? Or, what are the things that you're doing this for? Because if you're just doing it to say, I want to lose 40 pounds, that's really not enough to drive you forward. There has to be a greater why. So, for me, I have a certain number on the scale that I like to be at, but it's because it's when I feel my best. I already have a whole wardrobe of clothes, and so that is motivating to me. I want to get back into those clothes and not buy new clothes because that's expensive. I want to, again, feel good around my spouse. I want to have energy. I want to be in really great shape. And lately, more and more, I keep thinking that I want to continue to do functional movements that are going to allow me to be that crazy 80-year-old, Lord willing, who's able to, lift well and sit on the floor and do things that you see in those YouTube videos that are fun to watch old people do. So those are the kind of goals that I have. Now, within these 4 phases of losing the weight, the challenge is knowing, number 1, when to advance. So maybe you want to get to that phase 4 and to do the hard workouts and focus on all the specifics, fine-tuning with fat loss. So it might be challenging to know how long to stay in phase 1, phase 2, and so on. And so those are things that's really helpful to have a coach for, to help you to see okay, you are doing well, you are in this phase, we can help you to progress. This is what I would specifically add. This is how I would tweak your food, etc. Another challenge that I see is sometimes women stay in the same phase forever. So if you are doing lots of walking and maybe a little bit of weight while you walk and eating real food, but never progressing to doing something harder in any of those categories that I mentioned, it's going to be hard to get to maybe a specific weight loss goal. Now, you might feel just fine in phase 1, and that might work for you. And that's the beauty of doing a Holy Spirit-led health journey, is that there's no right or wrong as far as where you have to get to. Everybody's goals are different. Some people really want to feel toned and more shredded out. And some people are like, you know what? I just want to have better energy and see my cholesterol drop. And so that's great. Maybe you stay in phase 1. But for a lot of us, we stay stuck in these specific phases of our health journey and we don't have anyone to push us to do things that are uncomfortable or feel hard, or maybe even things that we never considered we could do. And so again, we want to invite you into joining our space inside of Fit Moms Academy, where we can help you to figure out what phase of weight loss you're in and how to progress at your own pace, how to make it so simple and to not feel tedious and to feel like something that you enjoy, and to be okay with being in process. It's okay to stay in a certain phase for a while and to not have to push yourself and grind, especially if you do have an infant and you're, maybe you have other kids, maybe you work, maybe you homeschool, whatever those things are. You just have to realize what you have the capacity for in this season. And that's where I am, honestly. I'm slowly working my way kind of in phases 2 and 3, and I'm okay with that. I'm not rushing to get to the end goal of losing these last probably 17 pounds that I have. I'm just in process and okay with that and at peace with that. And that's where I want you to be too. This does not have to be a process of losing weight that feels really hard and horrible. It can be something that grows you closer to the Lord and that you can enjoy. Hey Fit Mom, if this episode blessed you today and you can think of somebody else who's struggling in her weight loss journey, would you consider sharing this week's episode with her to give her a sense of hope? And then while you're at it, hop on over to our free Facebook community, Kingdom Fit Moms, for daily encouragement and support. Let's go shed the weight to shine the light.